Dragons don't eat tacos. El Fogoncito in China. El Fogoncito is 100% Mexican restaurant, specialized in tacos, established since 1968 in Mexico City. The family-owned business opened its first restaurant in Revolucion Avenue, and it didn't pass long before its popularity increased due to its good flavor and service. Today, El Fogoncito is a well-known franchise with operations in 4 different countries: Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Mexico, and more than 48 restaurants. In 2008, after successfully franchising in Mexico, the management decided that it was time to explore new markets. At that time, China was booming. The formal name of China is People's Republic of China. Its capital is Beijing, and the country has a total population of 1.3 billion. China is the third largest country in the world according to its land size, and its official language is Mandarin. Most of the population is Buddhist. However, above all the interesting facts of China, the main attraction the country offered to foreign investment was its growing economy. From 1990 to 2009, its GDP increased more than 500%, while USA GDP only grew 61%. It was clear that China's economy was well positioned and with a solid perspective to keep on growing. In the same means, its large population, mainly concentrated in the industrialized cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Chongqing, gave sight that the country had a potential market. And the age structure of the country showed that 72% of the population was in working age and able to become potential clients of the Mexican franchise. To better explain, Beijing has a population of 20 million people, similar to Mexico City, definitely an attractive opportunity of El Fogoncito to enter China. With this favorable economic perspective, anyone could do the math. A growing economy was an attractive market, and with no doubts, an economic success for any investor. However, did El Fogoncito really succeed in China? No, El Fogoncito couldn't succeed in doing business in China as they have previously estimated. Management had to go beyond the numbers and world economy perspective and do some cultural analysis. Therefore, we decided to analyze El Fogoncito's failure by using different cultural frameworks. First, we used Hofstede's model. Looking at the results, you can see that China and Mexico are not very different from each other. Yet, the main difference is that China is a highly long-term oriented society, in which persistence and perseverance are normal, while Mexicans don't even evaluate on this dimension. From this model, we can conclude that El Fogoncito apparently had no reason to fail in China. But it did fail. So in order to understand, we had to use another framework. So we decided to take a look into the World Value Survey map, and we found that China and Mexico are not that similar as Hofstede's model showed. China is more secular and orientated to survival values, meaning that China concentrates more on economic and physical security, while Mexico is more traditional and oriented to self-expression values, meaning that Mexicans give high importance to family and environmental protection. But knowing that both countries were different according to the World Value Survey map was not enough. El Fogoncito's management failed to show cultural intelligence. They failed to understand the society. How often do Chinese go out for lunch? How much are they willing to pay for a meal? Which are their economical priorities? Which is the food flavor they like the most? El Fogoncito demonstrated lack of knowledge of the host market.
So what went wrong? What were the main issues? The menu. First of all, Chinese are not used to eat dairy products. Most of the population is allergic to them. However, today they're starting to consume those products. Also, they're used to eat meals with more vegetables. They do eat beef, pork, and chicken. However, they combine it with fried rice and many vegetables. El Fogoncito's most famous meals, gringas, is made with cheese, and the rest of the taco in the menu do not include vegetables. As a reaction, after 6 months of operation, El Fogoncito decided to change more than 50% of the menu. They first decided to include stronger flavors to match the Chinese taste, and decided to eliminate the gringas. Also, new combinations of tacos with vegetables were included into the new menu. The price. El Fogoncito entered the market with high prices. Originally, the different taco meals were offered by $10, which for middle-class Chinese was quite expensive. However, for tourists the price was okay, but they only represented close to 50% of the clients. Therefore, management had to develop a new pricing strategy, which consisted on decreasing prices by more than 0.5%. Now meals were offered by $3 to $4 and promoted loyalty cards to customers in order to attract new ones and create a good word of mouth that will increase their revenues. The flavor. Chinese people, just like Mexicans, like spicy food. However, they're used to even more intense flavors, including more spices. Management decided to include more salsas that were not only spicy but offered more intense flavors to match Chinese taste. The name. As a franchise company, El Fogoncito wanted to maintain its original name. However, in Mandarin, El Fogoncito meant nothing, and it was hard to pronunciate. So they were lacking the tropicalization of the product, and Chinese couldn't associate the brand name with the product it was offered. To solve the issue, management decided to change the name to Mr. Taco, which it was easier to pronunciate and was more associated with Mexican food. Also, seeking to make the experience for Chinese people more pleasant, the restaurants were decorated with more Mexican style, creating more traditional ambience. Nevertheless, all these changes were not enough to maintain the franchise. They entered China just before the Olympic Games in 2008, making the business seem very profitable. At that time, the country had many tourists, and El Fogoncito many clients. All these changes caused projections to be not that accurate, having an overestimated demand, and management believed they would keep on growing at the same pace. They set an aggressive expanding perspective that would allow them to open 7 restaurants around the country, but at the end, they could only open 3.
Overall, we can conclude that in a country as immense as China, the diversity of its food is vast and more cultural research had to be done. El Fogoncito restaurant learned in a rough way. The many different ingredients and flavors of Chinese cooking combined cultural difference frustrated the expected successful Fogoncito. Today, only one Mr. Taco remains, and it's a franchise not managed by El Fogoncito.